You hear me? Okay. It's Tell me if you can hear me right now. There might have been something wrong with the audio, but I think it's okay now. But I need somebody to tell me if it's okay. And then I'm just going to have to start all over again. Hold on. I don't know. Is there something wrong with the audio still? Help. Somebody tell me. Can you Okay, is yes you can hear me or is yes there's something wrong? I see a lot of yeses. So yes, we can hear you. Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, good. Because, tech, here we are. So let me just repeat myself since y'all missed it. This is, thank you, Laura and Diane. Thank you so much, you guys. I love you all. So tonight we are talking about radical self care. And as I was saying, and you don't know this, I am Colleen Vanderzyden. I'm a registered medium at Lilydale Assembly. The name of the show is called Embracing Your Essence. It's all about you, who you are at your soul level, and reclaiming the powers that you have so you can live the life of your dreams. So that's what we do every Tuesday here. And tonight we are talking about radical self care. You may have noticed that a lot of people, maybe yourself, are feeling overwhelmed or feeling hypersensitive, that things are happening and it just is too much. It's just too much. And during this chaotic time, radical self care is essential. So, we're going to talk about a few ideas to help you prioritize your well being so you can get back to peace and joy. And I'll also do some mini soul readings and personal guidance. I'm sure there'll be time. I do want to remind you to be on my page, Colleen Vanderzyden, Medium and Empowerment Coach, because that's the only place I can see your comments. And I also want to remind you that up in the description for this show, there is a free gift link for you. It's for the Empowered Path to Inner Peace, 9 ways to create inner peace even in chaos. So, since we all have sound now and you can hear what I'm saying and I'm not just talking to myself, I'll get to it. So as I said, talking about radical self-care. I have so many clients and so many friends talking about feeling overwhelmed and scattered, finding it hard to focus on one thing. Have you been noticing this? Things we used to be able to do, we can't do so many things anymore. It's just kind of craziness. And I also keep hearing people saying that they want to hide in their house and not go out and talk to anybody. They just want to stay in their house because leaving the house is taking too much of their energy. Or, on the other hand, kind of related, they want to run away and hide, and escape that intensity. What's happening is everybody's energy is just overloaded. I'm also hearing people saying they don't want to do anything. They just don't want to do anything. They've lost their motivation. They're stuck in apathy. And people are also telling me they're having a very low tolerance for stupidity. They're having a low tolerance for people who are mean or for things that are wasting their time. Pamela says, things have felt heavy recently, and I don't ever feel that. Michelle is also saying the energy is really heavy. The energy is really heavy. Okay. Are y'all feeling it? It's like a weight. It's like we have this weight on top of us, and it almost, in some way, and I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but it almost feels like we're being smothered by the energy because it's just so suppressing. And that is what is happening out there. And that energy is affecting us, which is making us more hypersensitive. It's making us really, I'm going to say on edge, but also our energies are just scattered and we just don't feel right. So, what's happening here is, well, obviously, there's a lot happening in the world. And I will just tell you, I'm going off track for just a second, that the energy did shift in December. And by the end of March, it's going to be a little bit better. By the end of June, it'll be even more better. But it's not like going to lighten up magically in the next half a minute. Okay, so with this energy that we're having, this heavy, dense energy and this intense energy, what we're really longing for, right, is a different kind of energy. Everyone wants to feel more peaceful. We want to have more breathing space. We want to be calmer. We want to have sincere connections with other people, right? We just want to feel good. That's what we're looking for. And so when we talk about radical self care, we usually right away, for self care, we think about the typical things, right? Massages, bubble baths, naps, eating right, all of those things, which are excellent and absolutely needed for self care. But radical self care is deeper, and it emphasizes a really strong self commitment to prioritizing ourselves. Okay, prioritizing ourselves and then taking definitive steps to protect our well being, to protect our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. And of course, that ties in with our energetic health as well. Sorry, I couldn't get that out of my mouth there. Um, Pamela, totally have low tolerance for stupidity, people not doing what they say they will, right? Have y'all noticed that too? Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. So, whenever I talk about prioritizing ourselves, because that's what radical self care is based in, prioritizing ourselves. Whenever I talk about that, someone usually thinks that means we put ourselves above others with no regard for them, right? Or that we put ourselves above other and have no regard for how our actions affect other people. That is not prioritizing ourselves. That is selfishness, right? That is selfishness. And that is not what we're talking about. Prioritizing ourselves is not selfish. Prioritizing ourselves, we still care for others. We still want to help if we can. We do want to understand how our actions affect other people. We become more intentional about what we're doing when we are prioritizing ourselves. It means we're protecting our energy and deciding to use that as a guide in how we live. We don't sacrifice ourselves by putting our own needs and wants on the back burner, on that someday list, which is frequently code for never, right? We don't do that. And I'm sure, just to think about these things, I'm sure you can think of times where maybe you planned to do something and then felt obligated to drop it because somebody needed you, right? So you planned to do something and then somebody called or somebody, whatever, texted, came to your house. And obviously, there's a difference between a true need, right? Where maybe somebody's sick, they're in the hospital, there's an emergency, they're a child. That's a true need versus someone who needs you, who could or should be doing things for themselves, but they're so used to you saving them or helping fix things that they now expect it. And what's happened is you've made them a priority instead of yourselves. Can you relate to that? Right? You feel this obligation, this sense of responsibility, and maybe you've been doing it forever. And so now you're like, oh, I really wanted to go, whatever. And now I have to go over there and help. And I don't really want to, but I really need to. And I probably should. And we talk ourselves out of prioritizing ourselves and our energy. And you, I'm sure, know what it's like to put someone else first and then feel like part of you kind of slips away as you've denied or ignored what you wanted or needed. Do you remember feeling like that ever? Michelle is saying it's difficult to keep vibrating at a higher level. It is. And we have to remember, side adventure for just a second here, we have to remember that with this energy shift that we are literally shifting our energy as the whole consciousness evolves. And so, of course, as those things change, we're going to feel heavy and light, and there's a lot of adjustments happening. Ashley says it feels selfish to prioritize yourself when you are used to putting everyone first. So welcome to all the people pleasers, the people who have learned to put everybody else first. And I've heard people say to me, well, I feel so guilty if I tell somebody no. I feel guilty if I go do what I want to do. I feel guilty if somebody needs me to come and whatever. And all I wanted to do was just, take a walk. And then they minimize that taking a walk when it would have been really good for their mental and emotional health. So it does take some time and it takes a commitment to be able to prioritize ourselves and recognize when we are so used to putting other people first that we feel wrong to put ourselves first. And again, it's not selfish, and we're not going to do it in a selfish way. We're not thoughtless. We're just being intentional about how we want to live. People pleasers unite. That should be a t-shirt. So what happens, right, in radical self-care is that we recognize that our own lives are important, that we are important and are deserving to live our best lives. We recognize that we get to decide how we want to live our lives, how we spend our time, and who we want to spend it with. We get to decide what we want to do and what kind of life we want. As I always say, and I say this so much, we are the ones living our lives and we get to decide how to live it. And that means we have to learn more about ourselves. If we want to have radical self-care, if we want to have more peace, if we want to live our lives the way we want to, we have to learn more about ourselves, what we want and what's important. And then we do make that decision to make a commitment to prioritize ourselves, to give ourselves permission to take our power back and be intentional with our choices. It is so, so important. Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining me. Now, I'm going to just for a second, if you are watching me on Lily Dale's page and you think you're going to want to ask a question, make a comment, you're going to want a mini soul reading later, you've got something going on and you want to talk about it, you need to be over here on my page, Colleen Vanderzyden, Medium and Empowerment Coach, so I can see your comments. I'm going to talk about a few ideas to help you embrace your radical self-care, embrace yourself, step into that power, and then we will answer questions and do mini readings and stuff. Yes, Heather says it's so challenging to remember the oxygen mask rule. We talk about that one all the time when we talk about taking care of ourselves. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can save anybody else, or you will deplete your energy. So the first step to radical self-care, let me just say that again, because that was like the most stumbly sentence ever. The first step to radical self-care is to decide to prioritize yourself, to recognize that even if you feel guilty or selfish, that prioritizing yourself is not that. If you've been feeling, like I described earlier, overwhelmed, unmotivated, want to run or hide, longing for more peace, more joy, make that decision to prioritize yourself. Even knowing that that could mean you might have to make some tough choices that might disappoint people. And that's okay. And that's okay. Number 2, to help get clear on prioritizing, it helps to know what you're moving toward. Do you want more peace, more joy, more space, more freedom? What is it you're looking for? What do you want in your life? It helps if you know where you're going, what you're moving toward, because then it will help you make decisions. When we're feeling overwhelmed or selfish or whatever it might be, we tend to focus on those more negative emotions, which only creates more of them and makes us feel worse. But if we know we want to move toward more peace, we can rebalance our perspective and go in that direction. In my Reimagine Your Life retreat, as we are getting more clarity on what our ideal looks like in that retreat, we talk about how we want to feel in our ideal life. What is the emotion that we are looking for? This helps us rebalance our perspective, making our focus less on what we don't want and more about what we do want. And again, it helps us guide our decision making. It's really quite amazing how that works. Because when we start thinking about how we want to feel, it gets us out of our thinking head where we say to ourselves, that would be really cool if I could live this way, rather than and create it for ourselves, rather than, again, focusing on what we don't want. Doug says, if you put others first before yourself, you will drain all your energy and feel exhausted. And that is so true. So for example, here's an example, right? If you want more peace, you decide you want more peace in your life, and your uncle is, we always use the uncle, right, is always dramatic and argumentative. You always feel exhausted when you're around him. You complain about how horrible he is. What choice can you make to prioritize your peace? You can decide to walk away. That's a choice. You could decide not to go to family functions. You could decide to go to the family functions understanding that that's the way he is and he's not going to change, and let go of letting him affect your peace, or let go of wanting him to be different. There are lots of choices, but all the choices you want to consider are going to be what's based on the best way for you to prioritize yourself and your peace. Right? Megan says, I worry too much about how I'm allowing other people to feel if I'm not there for them. How to break the cycle. It is tough. It is tough. It absolutely is tough. And let's see, Tatiana says, I agree with you. I've been putting others first my whole life while I ignore my needs. Right? Yeah, we're back to people pleasers unite, right? It is so interesting as we do this. We have been programmed throughout our whole lives, we've been programmed to meet other people's expectations, right? They want us to do certain things. Um, we've been programmed to keep other people happy. We've been programmed that taking care of other people is most important, that you have to be a certain person or do certain things to be accepted and feel like you belong. So we've been focused on other people for most of our lives. And it has become second nature for us to take care of everybody else. And we forget about ourselves. And it basically makes us disconnect from our true selves. And so it's been such a habit. We're so used to doing it that it can be a challenge to disconnect from this and give ourselves permission to make that commitment to ourselves. And that is something we do talk about in the Reimagine Your Life retreat, which I guess I could mention. We're going to be in Niagara Falls, May 29th through the 31st. It's in person, obviously. We're going to have so much fun. It's about creating your ideal life and letting go of whatever's in your way from living that ideal life. Okay, and that helps you strengthen your power. We want to strengthen our power, right? We want to believe in ourselves. We want to trust ourselves. So if we're going to practice radical self-care, we really do need to understand who we are. We need to understand how we typically respond to things. We want to understand what our wants and needs are, what we like, what we don't like, what we can tolerate, what we can't tolerate. And it's a big topic. I mean, I wrote a whole book on finding out who you are, right? Courageously You wrote a whole book on this. So obviously I can't go through everything tonight, but I can give you some good information here that can help you. And I cover this information in other programs I have as well. Now, Amy, I'm going to digress for a minute because I'm checking the comments here. Amy says, as a single mom, I don't even know myself or what my needs are, right? Mothers, especially. We have spent our whole lives taking care of kids, and being responsible for everything that's happening, especially as a single mom, that we are living from what I call the most urgent thing to the next most urgent thing. And we don't even have time to breathe and think about ourselves. But it is absolutely necessary to find a few minutes to ourselves every day just to have some stillness. And it's also necessary for us to start kind of remembering we need to have a life too. And we need to feel good about ourselves as well. And we can learn a lot about ourselves, even as mothers and whatever jobs and things we might do that are overwhelming for us. But we need to learn these things about ourselves. Jennifer says as well, I always put everyone in front of myself. I'm just now starting to learn how to put myself first. Tatiana says, I feel like I deny my spirit to care for others. That's such a great way to describe it, and I'm sorry you feel that way. It makes me sad and exhausted. When I try to break that, I feel a lot of guilt, right? And this is what I do with people all the time. This is how I help people to realize they have the power to get back to themselves, and how essential it is that we do this. It is beyond essential. I don't know if there's a stronger word than that, but it's beyond essential that we take care of ourselves. And Carrie's mentioning caregivers for elderly parents while still raising children. How exhausting that must be. How exhausting that has to be, right? And we do lose track of ourselves from that programming that we've been taught to be certain way, do certain way things, take care of people all the time. We've disconnected from our truth. About 26 years ago, I woke up and realized I had no idea who I was. I had no idea how to speak up for myself. I was so programmed and conditioned, and it had become such an internal habit to take care of everybody else, to make sure everybody else was fine, that I was always there helping people. And I could feel resentment, right? You get that resentment. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it because if I don't do it, what are they going to think about me? Or that I am guilty or I'm selfish, etc. And so we turn into these extreme people pleasers. And it's not our fault. Let me just remind you that it's not our fault. We were taught to do this. So, but now we see it, now we recognize it, we can make different choices and go in a different direction. And forgive ourselves if we feel a little bit off, like selfish or something. So because we've been focused on other people for our whole lives, we are disconnected from our true selves and our power. Now, I just have a little bit more to talk. Don't yet ask me about soul readings, but I want to remind people to be on my page here, Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and empowerment coach. And that way I'll be able to see your comments once we get to that part. Okay. So I'm going to continue on here. So here's something to think about. It's time to start delineating between others' expectations and what you really want. Are you doing something because you want to do it? Or are you doing it because there's some unwritten rule that you have to do it? Or you're doing it to keep other people happy, or you're doing it because that's what they expect and you don't want to disappoint them, or upset them, or make them angry. So here's a few examples, right? If someone expects you to take care of them, but then they never help you when you need help, do you really want to help them, or would you rather just go for a walk? I've had quite a few clients over the years tell me, well, I did everything for my kids, and then I needed them to help me with something, and usually something small. And for us older people, it's usually a tech thing, right? My TV is not working, come and help me. And then they wouldn't come and help her. I've had clients say this to me all the time. And were so hurt because they'd spent their whole lives helping everybody else. And now when they needed something, one little thing, nobody would come and help them. So that's an example of overgiving, losing track of ourselves, and also now recognizing if we want to have a good life, we've got to do it ourselves. We've got to decide what we want. We've got to honor what we really want. So if someone expects you to fix their problems and you're feeling resentful, that's a sign you don't want to do it, right? That's a sign you don't want to. If your friend is always late to lunch and they expect you to wait every single time, is it bothering you? If so, that's not what you want to do. Okay, that's not what you do. So what we want to do is pay attention to how we're feeling, because within the emotions are the messages that can help you learn what you really want, what you really need. And the more we understand who we really are and what we want and need, it's easier to prioritize ourselves and practice radical self-care. And again, I wrote a whole book on finding out who you are and getting your power back because it's such a big topic. And there are so many of us, myself included, who have had to learn how to be ourselves. And we've had to discover who we are because we were tired of living the life somebody else said we should be living instead of living the life we have chosen to live. And that's important. Connie says that I've taught her to walk away for her self-health. It's been working. I am so grateful and happy to hear that, Connie. Amen. That is wonderful. So when we're trying to figure out who we are or get closer to that or get our power back after having given it away to so many people for decades maybe, I tell my clients all the time to check in with themselves when they're making decisions. Which choice feels right? Which answer feels right? I always say when I talk about this too, we make choices all the time where we are checking in with ourselves, but we do it automatically. So we're not necessarily paying attention. Usually with small things, right? When we get up in the morning, we pick our clothing. We are choosing the clothes based on something inside of ourselves. We're checking in, but without awareness. We're just checking in. It's like, oh, I want to wear that because I like the color. I want to wear that because it makes me feel warm. I want to wear that because it makes me look good, whatever it is. Same thing with food. What do we feel like today? Right? So we're already doing this. So here's the thing. We can do this for other situations as well and be more intentional about it. So if we start paying attention to how we feel in situations or making choices, we'll notice a certain feeling in our bodies, a certain feeling in our energy for a yes answer versus a no answer. If we start paying attention, we'll start noticing this. Tatiana says she's learned to watch her responses, and her intuition guides a lot of what I do and how I respond. So she's touching in she's getting the messages from her body and from her intuition. Thank you, Madeline. She says, I love listening to your wisdom. Thank you. I love that Spirit tells me what to say. So checking in with our body, I call it the body barometer. Our body is always giving us messages. So generally, if we have tight areas in our body, that usually means a no answer. It's not quite the right answer. When we feel more open and relaxed, there's just a certain feeling in it. That's usually a yes answer or the right answer. And as we become more aware, just playing with it without being attached to, oh, I have to figure this out, I have to know, but just playing with it and being curious and just seeing what you're experiencing. As we become more aware, it becomes easier to recognize the body and the energy responses. So, using a previous example, if your friend is late to lunch, right, that one, and you get irritated every time she's late, or she dismisses your complaints when you say, when you're 20 minutes late, it really makes me feel like you don't like me, or you're not valuing my time, or whatever. You might notice as you talk about that, think about that your body gets tense in the situation. Even if you're thinking about it, right? You'll get tense. So as you begin to think about, to consider other options besides waiting for her, because it's not working, you're feeling resentful, it's not working. So you're thinking about other options, pay attention to what happens in your body. So maybe you think to yourself, you know what? I am going to go to lunch 20 minutes after the time we said. We said we'd meet at 1. I'm going to show up at 1:20. And as you think about it, your body relaxes and you go, you know what? That actually feels right. My stomach and my shoulders relax. That might be a good solution. As long as we're not doing it like this, I'm going to show her, because that's a vengeful energy and we don't want to do that, right? Another thing you might think about is, okay, I'm never going to have lunch with her again. I'm just not going to do it. But then it doesn't feel right in your stomach. You get that weird feeling in your stomach. So okay, that's not the right answer either. Okay, so you're going to pay attention to what happens. You want to pay attention to how things feel, because that's going to go a real long way toward knowing yourself and getting to practice that radical self-care that is so important for you. Um, Connie, as you said, the generational heritage is strong and it's hard to break. I'm 66 and now I have just told my 92-year-old mom that it's my life. It's hard, but I'm cutting that umbilical cord, right? People, see, and here's the thing, right? People expect things from you. And when they expect things from you, and we've been doing it forever, they expect it to keep happening. So when you make a change, it is going to cause a little disruption probably. And that's okay, because if it's right for you, you got to do it anyway. Now, here's another idea to help you learn more about yourself and what's most important, because we need to know what's most important in order to practice radical self-care. You want to simply be curious and ask questions. How do you want to spend your time? Think about it. How do you want to spend your time? Sometimes when we're so overwhelmed, we can't even think of something. So we're going to put the question out there and just let it be. How do you want to spend your time? Dream big. Go for something big. Don't just go, well, I want to have a bath, which is great and good for relaxation, but maybe you want to do something else too. Don't talk yourself out of things. If you want to do it, put it on your list to get to it. So what do you like doing? Spend more time doing that. Prioritize the things you like doing over the things you don't like doing. It's obvious, right? But it's good to say it that way. What's fun? What do you like to enjoy? What's fun for you? Go do those things. Who do you like spending time with? We all know spending time with somebody who is a challenge drains our energy. When we spend time with people we like, our energy is stronger and we feel better. It feeds our soul. So think about those things. Prioritize those things. You want to use all of this information to prioritize and practice that radical self-care. If it's not a priority for you, if it doesn't feed your soul, if it doesn't make you feel good, don't do it. Granted, there are a few things in life where we do have to do them that don't feed our soul and don't make us feel good, but they're necessary for different reasons, not for reasons where we're prioritizing someone when we shouldn't be. Radical care is also being ruthless in making your decisions. Ruthless. We all know about boundaries, right? Set your boundaries. The problem is so many people think the boundaries are us telling someone else how they should be, when really boundaries is us telling ourselves what is acceptable to us and then deciding how we're going to respond when something isn't acceptable to us. You see the difference? We're not waiting for someone else to change. We are deciding what we are going to do when somebody crosses that line where we find it's not acceptable any longer. That's what a boundary is. So we have to be ruthless in making decisions. And with that, sometimes you're going to go against others' expectations or wants. If you've always dropped everything to help other people and you start saying no, back to that idea, there's going to be some backlash. There definitely is. People don't like change. They don't like when you change. They can take it personally. They can feel threatened. They can feel scared. They might even feel like you don't love them or care for them. Or maybe they're just irritated because now they have to do things for themselves. Maybe you recognize that helping them isn't helping them become more self-responsible. Maybe you've realized you've been enabling someone. Maybe you've realized you're tired of helping unappreciative people. So if it's the right choice for you to be ruthless in a decision, stay strong, do it, they'll get over it. They will. Another thing to think about in being ruthless in making decisions is that, and this is a biggie, sometimes someone is going to be hurt by your decisions. It's going to happen. For example, divorcing a partner that you're no longer compatible with, right? So many of us have been there where we've waited. The choice is to stay. You have choices, right? You have choices. It's to stay in an unfulfilling relationship, sacrificing yourself to keep peace, living a life that isn't your best, where maybe you don't even feel loved, wanting something else, and just knowing that this isn't right. And yet you hesitate because you don't want to hurt the other person. But are you willing to sacrifice you and your life, your joy, your peace, your love? If you're going to prioritize yourself, you have to be ruthless. And yes, you may hurt somebody, but letting it go so that you can live the wonderful life you deserve. When you get to the end of your life, are you going to say, wow, I'm so glad I stayed married to that guy for 60 years. He was abusive and I hated him, but I stayed married because I didn't want to hurt his feelings by saving myself and prioritizing myself. That doesn't sound good. Okay. Jan says, enabling is more difficult in the long run, but so worth it to let them do it themselves. And that is so true. So true. Now, sometimes deciding to protect your energy, protect your mental health, is in conflict with what you've always done. And I see this all the time with my clients, all the time. We've been working on finding who we are. They're recognizing how amazing they are. They recognize their beautiful qualities and that they do have the power to live their lives. And then they start making changes. And again, some of the people around them, they don't like it, right? So the little backlash comes. But also what happens is our inner critic pops up and says, oh, you don't want to do this because they're not going to like you. Oh, they're going to be disappointed. You're going to let them down. Ignore that inner critic. Ignore that voice and be ruthless anyway. You're the only one that can protect your mental health. You're the only one that gets to decide how your life is going to be. Don't give your power away to other people because they want you to do something else. Don't do that. Just don't. It's not good. You don't want to sacrifice yourself and your health. Practicing radical self-care is essential. Although there are going to be, and there will be, uncomfortable moments as you let go of the need to help or fix others, as you let go of trying to please others and meet their expectations, as you change how you're living, there are going to be uncomfortable moments. Uncomfortable moments is a lot better than a life that is sacrificed to meet other people's expectations rather than living life on your terms the way you want to. I'd rather have those uncomfortable moments, pull the Band-Aid off and move on, and instead reclaim my power and be intentional about how I'm living. Radical self-care helps you live a much better, happier life. You'll be more grounded, you'll be centered, you'll be in your power, and that does bring you more peace and joy and feeling more meaningful. Now, in about 30 seconds, I'm going to start doing soul readings if people want that, or if you have questions or comments and you'd like some intuitive guidance, my guide is here as usual. Anything like that, just try not to ask things like, am I going to find a partner? Because my guide doesn't like talking about that, and neither do I. It's actually a sign of giving your power away, asking somebody else a question like that. But asking an interesting question, always gets my attention, right? So think about this as you're moving forward. Radical self-care. Now, I forgot that part. So if you want to have a reading, a mini reading, soul reading, if you want intuitive guidance, etc., again, you need to be on my page, Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and empowerment coach. And you should see it at the top of whatever page you're on. And ask me an interesting question. And that way I will be sure to talk to you. And before I get to everybody, just make sure moving forward, think about these thoughts that I've talked about today. Deciding you want to prioritize yourself, finding out what you're moving toward. What is it you want? What are you moving toward? Knowing yourself, being ruthless in making decisions. And if you are struggling to find who you are, if you're struggling to get back in your power, if you're feeling lost, consider a couple of things. One, reading my book. Two, coming to the Reimagine Your Life retreat at the end of May. May 29th to 31st. It is so much fun. It is so much fun. And it's all about letting go of the stuff that's blocking you. And it's helping you step into your power so you can create your most ideal, wonderful life. Okay, here we go. Let's have some fun here. Dun, 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 dun. Pam says, I am struggling with whether to keep up trying to communicate with family members who never call me. That's always an interesting one, isn't it? Right? Because it can feel so very one-sided. And I've heard those comments with so many people, and a lot of people express that. I'm the one that's always the one reaching out and all of that. And we feel a little resentful for that. And the reason we feel resentful for that is because we feel like the other person doesn't care enough about us to reach out to us. And so we take it more personally. So we're making a story up, which may or may not be true. So what it comes down to is the real question is, do you love people enough to want to keep communicating with them? Does it seem like when you talk to them, they want to talk to them, want to talk to you, and that you enjoy talking to them, even if they don't call you first? Is it a positive experience overall? If it is, and people, family members, and you love them, and you want to maintain connection, absolutely yes. Then you just keep calling them and accept the fact that you're going to be the one that takes the first move. However, if you call them and they don't seem to be interested in talking to you, or they just, it's like a minute long and they're ready to go or whatever, then I would base it on how you're feeling that day, whether you want to put up with that or not. I always hesitate, we don't want to cut people out of our lives unless it's really necessary. Right, then that's something. That's a different matter totally. So it really depends on how these phone calls go and how they work for you. Okay, let me see who else we have here. I'm going to try to keep them short because you guys know how much I talk and I go way too long. I did soul guidance readings last night with 10 people. It was so much fun. I have another group tomorrow night, and we're going to do them again. And so everybody gets a mini reading for like 7.5, well, longer than that because I talk too much, minutes. And if people want them again, I might schedule some more, but they won't be until like April because I'm in my month of rejuvenation, as they say. Tatiana, I would love a mini reading, please. Okay, so what I'm going to do, everybody, when I do a soul reading, I am talking about who you are at your soul level, what qualities you came into this physical earth to express, basically why you're alive at this time. They are all variations of love in some way, but they come through in different words, right? Okay. And I also sometimes will do colors. I'll see colors and I'll tell you what they mean too. So, and the reason I wanted to mention that is because I'm seeing colors with you, Tatiana. So what I'm seeing around you right away is I'm seeing a lot of green and a lot of pink. Whenever I see green and pink, I always think of heart energy. Green is a healing energy and it goes with the heart, and obviously heart is love energy. So I see a lot of love with you, and I also see a lot of healing with you. And I recognize too that you are a very giving person. You've always been a giving person, and it is part of it's who you are. Right? It is who you are. And you may have been one of the people who mentioned earlier about, I don't know, I can't remember, about maybe feeling guilty, helping other people all the time and wanting to help yourself instead, or doing those things. And it is important, and I'm going to reiterate that, it is important that you really do take that time for yourself. I'm also getting a lot of, this is so interesting, I'm getting a lot of music around you, like I want to play the piano, okay? I'm getting a lot of music with you. And so I'm wondering if you also use sound or music in terms of healing and changing your energy. And if you don't, I highly recommend it for you because that seems to be a real strong part of your soul to have that healing energy coming through on sound vibrations. Another thing you can do related to sound is humming, singing, chanting, intentions, certain words, those kinds of things can help heal you as well. You have a lot of power within you, and you are wanting, needing, I'm going to say needing, you are needing to allow it to come to the surface. You may have spent time in your life doing what things I had mentioned earlier about keeping everybody else happy, meeting their expectations. And so when that happens, sometimes we do suppress our power and we hesitate sometimes to use our power, but you have a lot of power within you. And that will help you move forward in your next steps. And my guide wants me also to tell you to make sure you're trusting that the next part of your path will appear. So the next step is going to appear. So trust it. Don't get worried about what's coming, what's going to happen. Instead, just set the trust and expect it to come in its right timing. Whew, that was a lot of words really fast. You'll probably have to watch this again. It's about 42 minutes into the show, and the first 5 minutes, nobody could hear me, so skip that part. Um, let's see what we have now. Oh, hold on. Okay, now this is interesting. I always love interesting questions. You guys know me, don't you, Martin and Hillary? We are wondering if you have any insight about Onslow, the stray cat we rescued this past week. Wondering if there are any past life connections with him. Now that's an interesting question, isn't it? I have to say, I really like the soul connections you guys have with this cat. Isn't that interesting? I really like the connections. There is, I know this is going to sound strange to some people who maybe aren't aware of these kind of energy, soul kind of connection things, but there, and I don't know if it's a past life so much because it feels like a soul connection, and it could certainly be a past life. Actually, let me feel into that more and see what my guide says. Interesting. Okay, this is going to sound really strange what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because that's what I do. It feels like, how can I say this? It feels like this cat is related to another cat, but not the same cat. Okay, so like another cat's kitten or something like that. Isn't that weird? That is so weird. I don't know. I've never said anything like that, and it's really weird, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But there is a connection between that cat and you guys' soul. You both are really good about caring, and the energy you guys have, and I'm putting you both together, the energy you have is that of caring and kindness and connection with everything, not just people, not to minimize people, but not just people, but also other animals and everything. This energy attracts this kind of energy like this cat has. It is very interesting. I also, and again, this is going to sound strange, but whatever, that cat is very wise, very wise. Have you noticed that um, how can I say this? Have you noticed that he seems to know what's going on, like ahead of time? So let's say one of your kids is starting to get upset, but the cat recognizes it and goes over and stands next to them, something like that. Pay attention to that because it's like the cat gives you warnings. I don't like that word. Heads up on something, okay, and lets you know something is coming. Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. What a weird topic. I love it. Yeah, there's some wisdom in there. Pay attention. That will be fun to see. Thanks. We are in a Airbnb, and it's very interesting, isn't it? Michelle was at the Soul Guidance readings last night, said it was amazing. It's so much fun. Yeah. Jennifer, I'm in the process of starting a business. Will it work out? My immediate answer, my immediate knowing is yes. What happened, just so y'all know, what happened is my body went, phew, I could feel it, right? So I'm touching in with my body, feeling what happened. It immediately went this. It's going to work, okay? My guide's telling you step by step by step by step by step. Make sure you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's, getting all the details, being particular about it. Don't rush through. Be thorough. And it's okay if it feels like it's moving too slowly for you, because it's not. Okay, it's not. What is happening is every single step you do, the energy is building and building and building. And so when it gets to that point, and there's going to be a point where all of a sudden it's like boom and takes off. Okay, so just make sure you just are thorough as you're going through. And I'm not saying you're not going to be thorough, okay? Because I figure you are going to be thorough. It's just an affirmation to continue doing it that way. Be as thorough as you can. Yeah, I like that. That feels really good to me, Jennifer. Um, Carrie, struggling with having little power over my living situation due to seemingly never ending health issues. Feeling trapped with people who hurt my energy. Oh my. So, are these your never ending health issues? I'm getting the impression that that's what it is. Feeling trapped with people who hurt my energy. That's a challenge, okay? It's definitely a challenge. So, what you're going to do, right, is you are going to put up that energy bubble that I've talked about in the past, and maybe you remember hearing me say that. Blah, blah, blah. So you want to put up an energy bubble around yourself. Okay. Within that bubble, you say, I set the energy around me that I am protected. I am full of love and light, and only good is going to enter my energetic space. And that helps a lot. Okay. So you do that. And that gets you in a more powerful state. And the other thing is to make sure you're not focusing on the people who hurt your energy. Like, when something goes wrong or somebody's mean to us, we think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it, which only makes us feel worse. And our human tendency is to keep thinking about it. And we don't want to do that. Okay, we don't want to keep thinking about it. So we recognize that maybe they've hurt our feelings, and then we move on and we start looking at the good things. And a lot of it is the counting of our blessings, right? To keep ourselves in a more positive mindset. And it is hard, especially if you don't have power and you don't have the autonomy to be able to do the things you want to do. And especially if you're having to rely on other people, it is a challenge. And so you've got to give yourself grace on that. And when you do feel upset or concerned or whatever it might be. So focus on improving the energy around you, because that's going to help make you stronger, and stay focused on the positive things, as much as you can too. You might also try what I mentioned to whoever I was talking to before about having some sound around you that is uplifting for you, because sound changes our energy very quickly. So some music, that's something that might really help you. Let's see. Look at all these nice messages. Who's grabbing our attention right now? Let's talk to Megan. Would love any kind of mini soul reading and hear about the colors around me. I love the colors around you. I do. What I'm seeing right now is blue. I'm seeing a lot of blue around you, which is a communication color, throat chakra color. It is also a color of calm in my definition of blue. And whenever I see something like that, it brings me to a soul that is someone, in your case, so I'm not generalizing on this one. So in your case, it is that person who brings calm to others. It's also, I feel that sense of you wanting more calm around you at the same time, and wanting to be able to speak the truth of what is right for you. And so there is that sense as well of you building your power with this. So I can feel you building your power. And there is also that love is very strong with you. It's funny because I don't normally mention love as being a primary for a soul quality, because there are so many other aspects of it, but for you, that love is very strong. You really do love other people. You really do love doing things. There's a lot of loving life about you, and I also know you hold yourself up to a high standard, and every now and then you
give yourself a little bit of a hard time if you kind of lose track of what you're doing, but your focus is there. So you keep going in that way. So keep bringing in more of that blue color because it's very flowing to me. Okay, so flowing with that calm and that communication, and turning it back on yourself as well, and to make sure you're sending yourself as much love as possible too. A lot of the things we talked about tonight of prioritizing yourself and knowing who you are, and for you adding in that what is the best choice for me that will show me love or give me love as well, and that will help. So that was a little mini one. Let's see what else we have here. It's always fun to see. um, Carrie Kennedy would love a mini soul reading. I feel so busy and all over the place. I think so many of us can relate with that. And yeah, I was talking to the group last night and also a little bit earlier tonight about how we cannot do all the things we used to be able to do. We used to be really, really, really busy and it was okay and we could get things done. But now it just feels overwhelmed and we feel too scattered and everything. So just know you're not alone with that, number one. Number two, what I'm finding, and this may be helpful for you as well, is I can only focus on one thing at a time now. So I focus on one project, one whatever at a time, and go in that direction. It makes it a lot easier for me to do that. For you, you actually are a lot like me in terms of having a lot of interests and wanting to be busy and wanting to do things and wanting to create things, and you want to do that. And it's hard to kind of narrow it down a little bit. So, what you might want to do is go back to something like we talked earlier about prioritizing what is most important for you. And I would go like we did at the retreat, and you might remember because I think you were there, weren't you, last year at the retreat, of what is the most important energy, that what is the most important emotion you want. Is it freedom? Is it space? Is it feeling purposeful? Is it feeling meaningful? And then look at everything you're doing through that lens, especially if it's related to business. What is it you want there? And then, because that'll help you stay more focused and kind of let go or set aside some of the things that aren't quite helping you move in that direction. That's going to help, because your soul is about that creation. It is about providing, and whatever you provide and create to help other people. So there's a lot of that in there. So think about the one or two things that are most important, and that will help you filter things. Yeah, it's a different time now, everybody. It's a really different time. Um, Tatiana, I really love violin music. It's soothing to me. Do you know I'm a professional violinist? You hit the nail on the head. I always put others first. Thank you very much. Good. I'm glad it made sense. Mm, let's see. Mary, I feel so scattered in my soul's journey. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I don't know how to be really focused and actually make more progress in the journey. Help. Okay, so Mary, when we are learning about our souls and when we're learning like on our spiritual path and stuff, there's so much out there. There's so many things. And here's the thing. Your soul is already perfect. Your soul doesn't need to learn anything, doesn't need to grow. What we need to do is release the things around us that are blocking us from connecting with our soul. So, what you might do is think about if you were living as your soul, okay, as your soul all the time, what would that look like? Right? What would that look like? And everybody has their own idea of what that would look like. So, think about that, because that's going to give you a guide for moving forward as well. So when I think about myself, if I want to live as my soul, what does that look like? To me, it would be something along the lines of being kind and loving to myself and other people, of course. Listening, being my soul, to me also means listening to the guidance that I'm always getting. That means I'm trusting I'm going to be shown, I'm trusting I'm going to be guided to what I'm doing, what I'm saying, everything. I'm going to trust that, which also means that if I start getting caught in my head and my inner critic or telling myself the should story or a stuck story, that I'm not trusting that I'm going to be guided. right? So for me, it's all about ultimate trust. So that may be, and that can help you kind of start thinking a little bit. Not in a thinking I got to figure it out way, but more like considering and going, what could this be? Because when it comes down to it, you want to be your soul. So, what is that? Who is that? What does that look like? And that will help you get more focused. And then there's a lot of other things I could say, but I can't go on too long. And then you can go from there. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Martin says he definitely seems like a wise cat. Our daughter pulled him out of a storm drain on Thursday. No wonder. He is very malnourished, but doing better every day. Thank you for taking him and helping him. That is just beautiful. I'm glad that makes sense. Good, good, good. Sound baths, they are amazing, aren't they? Thank you for the stars. Oh, okay. Brooke got my attention. What does the universe want me to know? I keep trying to listen. A lot of people want to know that kind of thing. What do they want us to know? And it's kind of back to what I just said, which is we are always guided, right? The divine energy, the universal energy, the infinite intelligence, God, whatever you want to call that energy, they want us to know that we're always being guided. And Brooke says, I keep trying to listen. The word trying sounds like work. I don't like work, right? So we're going to allow the information to come to you. Allow the information to come. We don't have to sit there and go, tell me, tell me, tell me. And you're probably not doing that, but some people might, right? We don't want to do that because then there's not space. And here's the thing. When we get the messages, they always come when we least expect it. They come when we're outside gardening or shoveling in the case of New York State. Okay, right? Or they come when we're, walking down the hall. They come when we're painting, when we're singing, when we're taking a walk, when we're dreaming, when we're sleeping. So those messages always come when we least expect it. So I would do something like this. I would actually go, what do you want me to know? Forget about it. Forget about the question. You've asked it. And now just see what happens. So that's moving into that ultimate trust that I was just talking about. That may be something to do. Yes. Let's see. Now, I do want to remind you at the top of the page in the description for this, there is a free gift for you if you want it. If you don't have it yet, the Empowered Path to Inner Peace. It is 9 ways to help you create peace, even in chaos. And I do want to mention my retreat, the Reimagine Your Life retreat. Really, if you're tired of winter, if you're tired of feeling like you want more out of life and you're not sure how to get there, if you do want to know more about yourself, if you do want to create a life that is, my tagline is, create a life you can't wait to wake up to. Wouldn't that be awesome? You're sleeping, you wake up, you're like, I can hardly wait to get to my day and do whatever. That's what we want to do, and that's what we work toward. And we help people create a plan to get there. And along the way, I do some angel card readings. We do have a sound healing session from the amazing Ashley, and we create an adventure board, and we do all sorts of fun little crystal things, and I buy all sorts of things for everybody who's there. Everybody gets so many things. I just love shopping for the retreat. We have so much fun. And if you're interested in that, you just write it in the comments right now, retreat, or I'd like to know more about the retreat, and I'll give you information on it. We are the closest hotel to Niagara Falls. They gave us the most amazingly priced rooms. Like, I think they made a mistake because normally the prices are over $200 at the end of May, and they gave it to us for $139 plus tax. I really think somebody made a mistake. Don't tell them. But anyway, if you want to come, the price is amazing for the hotel, and the price is amazing for the retreat, and I give you all sorts of stuff. And on top of all that, it's fun, and we have a great time. We are literally, it's like a 1-minute walk to Niagara Falls. 1-minute walk, it's right there. So anyway, if you want to come, write retreat in there, or if you just want to know more, and I will be happy to send you information on it. May 29th through the 31st. It's going to be warm. Okay, Carrie, thank you so much. I needed to hear that. Awesome. I am so glad it made sense for you. Nice to see you, Charity. Yes, the inner critic, Mary says. Heather, I'm a professional violinist, violist too. Any wisdom on loving music? but finding it challenging, use it for healing because it's my job. I can relate. And my inner critic is always turned on, especially with my own playing. Oh, I said all the time that I learned how to be critical from playing the violin because when we are taught how to play a musical instrument, we're always told what we're doing wrong and then we correct it. Right? That's what nobody ever says, hey, that was perfect. And no, it's wasting time to do that. So they always tell us what's wrong. And that made my inner critic so strong. So strong. I learned that very early, very early. Yeah, yeah, I can relate about challenging use it for healing because it's your job. Yeah. I found listening to, and I'm going to do a plug for this guy. Peter Cater is a piano player. Amazing music. His last name is spelled Kater. Peter Cater. I had a car accident. I don't know how many years ago now. I can't remember. Almost 20 probably. And after that, I couldn't listen to music very long. I could play music and I could be in the orchestras, no problem. And I could listen to my students play, but I couldn't turn on just general music to listen to it for years. I mean, since my car accident almost 20 years ago. And Peter Cater came to Lilydale last summer, and a friend of mine, one of my clients, a friend slash friend, gave me CDs with his music. I can listen to his music for hours on end. It's the only thing I can listen to for longer than like 5 minutes. It's the strangest thing because I don't even like piano music, but the way he plays it, I love it, love it, love it. So check that out, Heather. Maybe you have the same whatever I had going. So Peter Cater, Kater, amazing, amazing music. So anyway, I just did a little advertisement for him, and you can see the moon and the stars, and it is cold. Retreat, yay, retreat, awesome. You guys will love the retreat. It is so much fun. Um, yeah, Carrie was at the retreat last year. She says it's absolutely amazing. Highly recommend it. So, Carrie, I sent you an email this year about the retreat. So make sure you find that email because it has a special registration link for the people who were in the retreat last year because of, last year. Remember, Jan, the retreat is so much fun and the swag. I know. I'm going to start shopping soon. So, anyway, so there's that. Anyway, thank you again. What time is it? Oh, I should stop talking. Thank you again for joining me. Again, if you're interested in my retreat, let me know. You can also find it on my website, ColleenVanderzyden.com. It is also an event here on my Facebook page, Colleen Vanderzyden, Medium and Empowerment Coach. Get the freebie that I have at the top. And what else do I need to tell you? Oh, if any of you are mediums, I'm teaching a platform mediumship mentoring program this summer, as well as a workshop. And if you are interested in doing mediumship in front of a group of people, I have a program where I work with you individually to help your platform mediumship improve. So you can find that on my website as well, ColleenVanderzyden.com. And there is that. LilydaleAssembly.org. You can find out what's happening this summer. They're adding things as we go. Okay, you guys have so much fun. I'll probably see you next week. Don't know what I'm talking about yet, but I will do the soul readings because it's fun and the personal guidance sessions. And if you are struggling to find out who you are, check my book out, Courageously You, and or come to my retreat and I will help you. I will tell you how amazing you are because that is what I do. I tell people how amazing they are and then eventually they see it and they realize they are amazing too. That's my path. That's my purpose. You have fun. See you next time. Bye-bye.